Marcus Tate, a 42-year-old black veteran, leaned on his cane outside a Southside cafe, coffee steam curling in the Chicago chill. Officer Dale Carver, eyes narrowed, slapped cuffs on him, sneering about loitering. Marcus, calm, dialed. His cracked phone. "General, it's Tate." Carver scoffed, blind to the call's weight. Sirens wailed. A helicopter thrummed above. Marcus stayed cuffed, crowd filming, Carver's smirk fading. This arrest would burn his life down. What had Marcus unleashed? Before this story unfolds, drop a comment with your city, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe because tomorrow's episode will blow you away. Marcus Tate's wrists burned as the cuffs bit tighter, Officer Dale Carver's boots scuffing the precinct floor while he shoved him through a steel door. The Southside's summer heat clung to the air, even inside, where fluorescent lights buzzed like angry wasps. Marcus, 42, a retired Army colonel with a Silver Star pinned to his past, kept his jaw set, his cane clicking against the tiles despite Carver's grip. The cop's sneer hadn't faded since the cafe, where Marcus's call to the Pentagon had stirred a helicopter's shadow. Carver thought it was a bluff, just some black guy flexing. He'd learn soon enough. The precinct smelled of stale coffee and sweat, a concrete maze of desks cluttered with papers and cops who glanced up, then away, as if Marcus were invisible. Carver's voice cut through, loud, performative. "Look at this guy, thinking he's somebody. Loitering's the least of his problems now." Marcus didn't flinch, his eyes scanning the room, cataloguing exits like he'd done in Fallujah. His leg ached, the old shrapnel wound flaring, but he stood tall, the cane a prop, not a crutch. The desk sergeant, a burly man with a buzz cut and a badge reading O'Malley, leaned back in his chair, chewing gum. He flipped through Marcus's wallet, pulled out the military ID and snorted. "This fake? Nobody's buying it, pal." Marcus's voice stayed level, each word clipped. "Check it. Pentagon's got my file." O'Malley's gum popped, his eyes narrowing, but he tossed the ID into a drawer like it was trash. Carver chuckled, yanking Marcus toward booking. "There. All heroes till the cuffs go on." The room's hum paused as a phone rang, sharp and insistent. O'Malley grabbed it, listened, then froze, his face paling. He muttered something, hung up and shot Carver a look. Marcus caught it, the flicker of doubt, but kept silent. His call had landed. Carver didn't notice, too busy typing up charges. "Resisting arrest," he said, grinning. "Should have stayed quiet, old man." Marcus's phone, confiscated, buzzed in an evidence bag. He dialed General Hargrove, a man who owed him from Baghdad days. Hargrove wasn't just brass, he was a 4-star with pull. That call was a grenade, and the pin was out. O'Malley shuffled papers, avoiding Marcus's gaze, while Carver rambled about teaching him a lesson. The precinct's walls, peeling and grey, seemed to close in, the air thick with unspoken rules. Marcus knew this game. Black man, wrong place, wrong time. He'd faced it before, in uniform and out, but never let it break him. His mind ticked, planning 3 moves ahead. The phone rang again. O'Malley answered, his voice low, then louder. "Yes, sir. Understood, sir." He slammed the receiver down, rubbing his neck. "Carver, what the hell did you do?" Carver blinked, confused. "Just a routine stop, Sarge. Guy's a nobody." O'Malley's eyes darted to Marcus, who stood still, unreadable. "Not anymore. That was the Pentagon. They want him out. Now." Carver's grin vanished, his fingers twitching at his belt. "Bull. He's lying." O'Malley shook his head, pulling. The ID from the drawer. "It's real. Colonel Marcus Tate, Silver Star. You screwed up." Marcus's pulse stayed steady, but he felt the shift. Hargrove's voice had reached Chicago, and Carver was sweating. The cop's bravado cracked, his eyes flicking to the bag where Marcus's phone glowed with missed calls. O'Malley uncuffed Marcus, muttering about paperwork, but his tone carried a warning. "Don't think this is over. Stay out of our streets." Marcus rubbed his wrists, cane firm in his grip, and walked out, the precinct's glare burning his back. The summer sun hit him like a fist as he stepped onto the sidewalk, free for now. He limped toward a bus stop, the city's pulse loud with horns and chatter. His apartment was 10 blocks away, a modest spot he'd earned after 20 years of service. He'd head there, regroup, maybe call Keisha, the activist who'd been blowing up his phone since the cafe video went viral. He didn't expect the screens. Every TV in a nearby electronics store blared his face, the cafe arrest looping on. Channel 5. The headline screamed, "Violent suspect attacks officer." Marcus stopped, his gut twisting. The footage was cut, distorted, showing him shoving Carver, not the other way around. Carver's voice played, calm, heroic. He resisted. "Threatened me. Had to take him down." Marcus's hand tightened on his cane. The Pentagon had sprung him, but Carver had spun a lie, painting him as a thug. Passers-by stared, some whispering, others crossing the street. A kid pointed, his mum yanking him away. Marcus's phone, returned by O'Malley, buzzed with texts. "Keisha, they're coming for you. Lay low." He scanned the block, spotting a patrol car idling 200 feet away. Not cops, but hunters. Carver hadn't just let him go, he'd lit a fuse. The precinct's threat echoed, "Stay out of our streets." Marcus knew why. Carver wasn't alone. This was bigger, a machine that chewed up men like him. His call to Hargrove had rattled it, but not broken it. The news kept looping, his face branded a criminal. He pulled his cap low, limping toward an alley. Freedom was a lie. A leash snapped tight. He'd won the round, but the city was watching, and Carver's lie was spreading like wildfire. What had he stepped into? The patrol car's engine revved, creeping closer. Marcus's leg throbbed, but he moved faster, the cane's tap a metronome to his pulse. He'd fought wars overseas, but this was Chicago, and the enemy wore badges. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He answered, voice low. "Tate." A woman's voice clipped, urgent. "Colonel, it's Hargrove's aide. Stay off the grid. They're not done with you." The line cut out. Marcus froze, the patrol car's lights flashing in the alley's mouth. Carver's lie wasn't just a smear. It was a signal. The machine was grinding, and he was the target. He slipped into the shadows, the city's hum swallowing his steps. The precinct had let him walk, but not because they'd lost. They'd set a trap, and it was closing fast. Marcus Tate's boots crunched glass in the alley, his cane stabbing the pavement as he dodged the patrol car's glare. Chicago's south side pulsed with dusk, the air thick with diesel and barbecue smoke. His phone buzzed. Keisha's name. "Flashing," he answered, voice low. "I'm clear. Where you at?" Her reply crackled, urgent. "Get to your place, Marcus. I'm 5 minutes out." The news is lying, but people are listening. He hung up, limping faster, the city's hum a warning drum. His apartment sat 10 blocks from the precinct, a third-floor walk-up in a brick building scarred by time. The viral video from the cafe, now twisted into Carver's lie, burned in his mind. Violent suspect. The words looped on every screen, branding him a thug. His leg throbbed, shrapnel scars screaming, but he pushed on, cap low, blending into the crowd. Kids bounced a basketball. Nearby, their laughs fading as a news van roared past. Marcus's gut churned. Officer Dale Carver hadn't just smeared him. He'd lit a match and the city was kindling. He reached his block, the building's chipped paint glowing under a street lamp. Home. Safety. Or so he thought. His key turned, but the door stuck. He shoved it open, freezing. Red paint slashed across the frame, jagged letters spelling out slurs no one should read. His pulse spiked, hand gripping the cane like a weapon. The hallway smelled of spray paint and menace, the bulb overhead flickering. He climbed the stairs, each step a test, his war-honed senses screaming ambush. His door was worse, more slurs, uglier, carved into the wood with a blade. Marcus's jaw tightened. This wasn't random. Carver's precinct threat echoed, "Stay out of our streets." He slipped inside, locking the deadbolt, and scanned the room. Couch, TV, a framed silver star on the wall. Untouched, but the air felt wrong, like someone had been here. His phone buzzed. "Keisha, I'm downstairs. It's bad, Marcus." He peered out the window, spotting her beat-up sedan idling. She stepped out, braids swinging, her activist fire undimmed. Marcus started to reply, but a shadow moved across the street, then another. Hooded figures, 5, maybe 6, clutching bottles and bats. His stomach dropped. "Keisha, get inside, now." She sprinted up, banging on his door. He let her in, her eyes wide. "They're coming, Marcus. The line's behind this." He frowned. "The line?" Keisha paced, voice sharp. Carver's crew, cops, ex-cops, worse. They run this city and you're their target. She pulled out her phone, showing tweets, posts, all amplifying Carver's lie. But some supported Marcus, calling him a hero, demanding justice. Keisha's group, Southside Rising, had filed a complaint against Carver that morning, citing the cafe video. "It's gaining traction," she said. "We're hitting back." Marcus nodded, hope flickering. The complaint could expose Carver, maybe crack the line. He poured 2 coffees, handing her one. "We keep pushing. File more. Get louder." Keisha grinned, but her smile died as glass shattered below. Voices roared, slurs cutting the night. "Go home, boy, you don't belong." Marcus peeked out, seeing the mob swell, now 10 strong, faces twisted with hate. Bottles flew, smashing windows across the street. Keisha grabbed her keys. "We gotta move." Marcus shook his head, barricading the door with a bookshelf. "Not yet. They want me to run." He'd faced insurgents in Iraq. This was no different. The mob's chants grew, boots stomping closer. Keisha's phone pinged, a live stream showing the crowd, egged on by texts from burner accounts. "The lines work," she hissed. "They're not just cops. They're a machine." Marcus's cane tapped, his mind racing. He'd called General Hargrove, rattled the precinct, walked free. Now this. The line wasn't scared. They were mad. A bottle crashed through his window, glass spraying the floor. Keisha ducked, cursing. Marcus grabbed a bat from his closet, old but solid. Downstairs, the building's door groaned, then splintered. Footsteps thundered up. Keisha's eyes locked on his. "Plan?" Marcus's voice was steel. "Hold the line." He shoved the couch against the door, stacking chairs behind it. The mob hammered, wood cracking, slurs spitting through the gaps. "You're done, hero." Marcus gripped the bat, Keisha clutching a kitchen knife. The door buckled, fists pounding, but held. Outside, tires screeched. A megaphone blared. "Disperse now, police!" Marcus exhaled, thinking rescue. Keisha's face fell. "Don't trust it." The mob scattered, but the sirens didn't fade. Blue lights flooded the window, pinning Marcus in their glare. Keisha peeked out, gasping. "It's Carver's crew. They're not here to help." The megaphone crackled again. "Marcus Tate, come out. You're under arrest inciting a riot." Marcus's blood ran cold. The complaint, the viral support, had pushed the line to strike harder. He'd thought the mob was the threat, but this was worse. Carver's voice, smug, echoed outside. "Should have stayed quiet, old man." Keisha grabbed his arm. "They planned this. The mob, the charge, all of it." Marcus's mind spun, the precinct's warning now a prophecy. The line had turned his defiance into a crime, the city their weapon. He scanned the room, spotting a fire escape. Too late. Boots hit the stairs, cops, not mob, their radios crackling. Keisha shoved her phone at him. "Record it, let the world see." Marcus hit record, aiming at the door as it shuddered. The bat felt heavy, his legs screaming, but he stood firm. The cops burst in, Carver at the front, cuffs gleaming. "You're done." "Tate." Marcus raised the phone, voice calm. "World's watching, Carver. What's your move?" The cop froze, eyes flicking to the stream, then smirked. "Turn it off, or she's next." He nodded at Keisha, whose knife shook but didn't drop. The live stream's counter spun, thousands watching, but the cuffs snapped on Marcus's wrists. Keisha lunged, but a cop pinned her. The phone clattered, still recording, as Carver dragged Marcus out. The street was chaos, neighbors watching, some filming, others shouting. The mob's wreckage littered the block, bottles and bricks glinting under streetlights. Carver's squad car waited, its door open like a trap. Marcus's cane was gone, lost in the apartment, his leg buckling. He glanced back, seeing Keisha cuffed, her eyes blazing. The complaint had been their sword, but the line had turned it against them. The city's pulse drowned his thoughts, sirens wailing as Carver shoved him into the car. The door slammed, the lock clicking. Marcus's face, bruised but unbowed, stared out, the live stream still alive somewhere. The line had struck, but he wasn't broken. Not yet. Drop a comment with number 1 if you're raging at the line's dirty tricks. Hit like and subscribe to see Marcus fight back, because this battle's just getting hotter. Will Carver's trap hold, or is Marcus won? Step ahead. Marcus Tate's wrists chafed under the cuffs as the squad car screeched through Chicago's south side. the city's neon lights smearing past like war paint. Officer Dale Carver's smirk filled the rearview mirror, his radio crackling with static and coded taunts. Keisha, cuffed beside Marcus, kept her eyes forward, her braids brushing her shoulders, defiance etched in her jaw. The precinct loomed ahead, its concrete bulk a fortress of lies where Carver's fabricated riot charge aimed to bury them. Marcus's leg throbbed, the shrapnel scar a dull scream, but his mind stayed sharp, replaying the mob's attack, the pie. Slurs carved into his door, the live stream that had caught Carver's threat. The line, Carver's racist cop clique, had orchestrated it all, turning his complaint into a trap. The car lurched to a stop, and Carver yanked Marcus out, his boots scraping asphalt. Keisha followed, her knife confiscated, her glare cutting. Through the humid night. Inside the precinct buzzed, cops tossing glances like knives. The desk sergeant O'Malley from Marcus's first arrest leaned back, gum snapping, his eyes cold. Riot incitement, huh? Big mess, Tate. Marcus stayed silent, his military discipline a shield. Keisha hissed, "They planned that mob, you know it." O'Malley shrugged, shoving them toward a holding cell. "Tell it to the judge." The cell door clanged shut, the lock's echo final. Marcus paced 3 steps each way, the concrete walls scratched with names and curses. Keisha sat, rubbing her wrists, her voice low. "Southside Rising's got lawyers. They're coming." Marcus nodded, but doubt gnawed. The line's reach was long, and the city's pulse felt like a noose. Hours crawled, the cell's fluorescent hum drilling into his skull. By dawn, a guard barked their names. Court. Now. They were shuffled into a van, the city's grey sprawl blurring past, skyscrapers dwarfing the south side's cracked streets. The courthouse, a marble giant, loomed over Michigan Avenue, its steps crowded with reporters and protesters chanting Marcus's name. Some held signs "Free Tate." Others, egged on by Carver's smear, screamed traitor. Marcus kept his head high, cane gone, his limp pronounced but unyielding. Keisha whispered, "We've got eyes on us. Keep cool." Inside, the courtroom smelled of polish and power, its benches packed. A young black lawyer, Jamal Carter, approached, his suit crisp, his handshake firm. "Pro bono from Rising. I've got this, Colonel." Marcus studied him, noting the fire in his eyes, the kind that burned for justice. Jamal pulled up the live stream from Marcus's apartment, frame by frame, showing Carver's squad ignoring the mob, pinning Marcus and Keisha instead. "It's airtight," Jamal said. "Carver's done." The judge, a black woman named Evelyn Ross, entered, her robe stark against the wood-paneled walls. Her gaze was steady, no nonsense, a rarity in a system Marcus distrusted. She called order, her voice cutting through the murmurs. Officer Carver took the stand, his face a mask of sincerity, claiming Marcus had rallied the mob, a danger to Chicago. Jamal dismantled him, playing the live stream, the crowd gasping as Carver's threat to Keisha echoed, "Turn it off or she's next." Carver squirmed, his lies unraveling. Marcus's chest loosened, hope sparking. Keisha gripped his arm, her breath. "Quick, we're winning." Judge Ross leaned forward, her pen tapping. "Officer, your account contradicts evidence. Explain." Carver stammered, sweat beading. But before he could answer, Jamal dropped another bomb. Cell tower data placing Carver's burner phone at the mob's rally point. The room erupted, reporters scribbling, protesters outside roaring. Ross banged her gavel, silencing the chaos. Charges dismissed. "Tate, you're free." Keisha hugged Marcus, her laugh sharp with relief. Jamal grinned, clapping his shoulder. "We did it, Colonel." Marcus shook, his hand, gratitude heavy. For a moment, the courtroom felt like victory, the system bending toward truth. Ross's eyes met his, a nod of respect passing between them. Marcus limped out, Keisha at his side, the courthouse steps a gauntlet of cameras and cheers. And the summer, sun-blazed Chicago skyline gleaming, and Marcus let himself believe it was over. The line had faltered, Carver exposed. He'd head home, rebuild, maybe sleep without one eye open. Keisha flagged a cab, her phone buzzing with risings. "Plans to sue the precinct." "We're just starting," she said, eyes bright. Marcus nodded, but a shadow moved behind them, unnoticed. Officer Holt, Carver's partner, a wiry man with a snake's grin, slipped through the crowd, his hand brushing a duffel at Marcus's feet. The cab ride was quiet. The city's hum a lullaby until blue lights flared behind. Sirens wailed, 2 squad cars boxing them in. Holt stepped out, badge gleaming, his voice loud. "Step out, Tate, you're under arrest." Marcus froze, his gut twisting. For what? Holt held up a baggie, white powder glinting. "Possession. Found it in your bag." Keisha's eyes widened. "That's planted." Holt smirked, cuffing Marcus as the cab. Driver shrank back. The crowd, once cheering, now whispered, cameras rolling. Marcus's victory dissolved. The courthouse's promise a lie. Holt's radio crackled. A voice, Carver's, laughing softly. "Told you, Tate. You don't win." The precinct loomed again, its doors swallowing Marcus as Keisha shouted, Jamal's number already dialing. But the courtroom's glow was gone. Judge Ross's face flashed in Marcus's mind, her recusal sudden, announced via clerk as they'd left personal reasons. He hadn't questioned it then, but now it stank. Keisha's voice broke through, fierce. "They're scared, Marcus. That's why they're hitting harder." He nodded, cuffs biting, but his mind raced. The line wasn't just Carver and Holt. It was bigger. A beast with claws in the courts, the streets, the city's heart. Jamal's evidence had cracked their armor, but they'd struck back, planting drugs, rigging the game. Marcus's leg burned, his body aching, but his resolve hardened. The squad car's radio played a news clip, Carver's voice spinning the drug bust. A dangerous veteran finally caught. The city listened, some believing, others raging. Marcus's face, bruised but unbowed, stared out the window, the south. Sight blurring past. Holt's eyes met his in the mirror. A challenge. "You're done, hero?" Marcus's lips twitched, not a smile, but a promise. He'd walked free once, thanks to Hargrove's call, Keisha's fire, Jamal's fight. The line thought this was checkmate, but Marcus had played worse odds in war. The precinct's shadow loomed, but he wasn't broken. Keisha's phone, still free, buzzed with Rising's plans, their network growing. The line's strike was brutal, but it betrayed their fear. Marcus's complaint, the live stream, the courtroom win, they'd rattled the beast. Holt shoved him into booking, O'Malley's gums snapping again, but Marcus's mind was elsewhere, mapping the fight. The line had dirt on judges, on cops, on Chicago itself. Ross's recusal wasn't cowardice, it was survival. Someone had leaned on her hard. The drug charge was a blade, but Marcus had dodged worse. He'd find the strings, cut them, expose the puppeteers. The cell door clanged, Holt's smirk lingering, but Marcus stood tall, his limp a badge of endurance. The city's pulse thrummed. Outside, protesters still chanting, their voices faint but unbroken. Keisha's words echoed. "They're scared." Marcus clung to that, his silver star a memory of battles won. The line's trap was tight, but traps could be sprung. He'd need Jamal's brain, Keisha's heart, maybe Hargrove's muscle. The precinct's walls pressed in, but Marcus's eyes burned, plotting, waiting. The line had struck, but the war was young. Marcus Tate's boots echoed in the county jail's corridor, the cuffs chaining his wrists glinting under flickering fluorescence. The air stank of bleach and despair, Chicago's south side a distant memory, as guards shoved him toward a cell. Officer Holt's drug plant had landed him here, the courtroom's brief victory. Judge Ross dismissing the riot charge, now a cruel joke. Keisha's voice, fierce from the squad car, lingered in his mind. "They're scared, Marcus." The line, Carver's racist cop clique had struck harder, framing him for possession, their claws deep in the city's veins. His leg throbbed, shrapnel scars burning, but Marcus's eyes stayed sharp, scanning the guards' smirks, their badges glinting like fangs. The cell door groaned open, a 6x8 box with a bunk and a toilet, walls etched with curses. The guard, a squat man named Briggs, sneered, tossing Marcus's confiscated phone into a bin. "No Pentagon calls here, hero." Marcus's jaw tightened. General Hargrove's aide had warned him to stay off the grid, but the line had lost those messages, cutting his lifeline. Briggs slammed the door, the lock's clank final. Marcus sat, the bunk creaking, his military discipline a shield. He'd faced ambushes in Iraq. This was just another war. The jail's hum, clanging gates, distant shouts felt like a battlefield, and the line was the enemy. Hours bled into night, the cell's dim light buzzing. Marcus's mind ticked, replaying Holt's baggie, Carver's laugh, Judge Ross's sudden recusal. The line had dirt on her, maybe blackmail, turning justice into a trap. Keisha and Jamal were out there, Southside Rising, rallying, but the jail's walls felt like a tomb. A guard's radio crackled, spitting Carver's name, then static. Marcus leaned forward, catching whispers. "Keep Tate quiet." His gut twisted. The line wasn't done. Footsteps approached, heavy, deliberate. Briggs returned, his smirk wider, flanked by a taller guard, Vance, whose eyes gleamed with malice. "Breakfast," Vance said, sliding a tray through the slot. Marcus didn't touch it, smelling something off like chemicals. He pushed it back. "Not hungry." Vance's grin faded. "Eat, or we make you." Marcus stood, his limp pronounced without his cane, but his voice was steel. "Try it." The guards exchanged glances, then left, their boots fading. Marcus exhaled, but the air felt heavier, the jail's pulse a warning. By noon, he was marched to the yard, a concrete square ringed by chain link and razor wire. Inmates lounged, some lifting weights, others clustered in knots, their eyes locking on Marcus. A wiry man, tattoos snaking up his arms, approached, his smile too sharp. "Heard you're a big shot, vet. The line says hi." Marcus's pulse spiked, his body tensing. 3 more inmates closed in, shanks glinting in their fists, crude blades, carved from spoons. The guards, Briggs and Vance, watched from a tower, their radios silent. This wasn't random. The line had bought muscle. Marcus backed against a wall, his legs screaming, but his training kicked in. Eyes on the leader's stance, the other's grips. Weak points. The tattooed man lunged, shank aimed at Marcus's gut. Marcus sidestepped, grabbing the man's wrist, twisting until the blade clattered. A second inmate swung, but Marcus ducked, slamming his elbow into the man's jaw. The third rushed, and Marcus tripped him, using the first man's body as a shield. The fourth hesitated, then backed off. The yard's air crackling. Inmates watched, some cheering, others silent. Marcus stood, breathing hard, the shanks at his feet. The tattooed man groaned, clutching his wrist. Marcus leaned close, voice low. "Tell the line, I'm still here." Briggs blew a whistle. Guards storming in, but the inmates dispersed, a few nodding respect. Marcus's hands shook, adrenaline fading, his leg afire. He'd won the skirmish, but the guards' glares promised worse. Back in his cell, Marcus slumped, the bunk cold. The yard fight had earned him allies, whispers of inmates tired of the line's grip. A shadow moved at the door. Not a guard. Keisha, slipping a burner phone through the slot, her eyes fierce through the bars. "Rising's got your back," she whispered. "Call Hargrove." She vanished before guards rounded the corner. Marcus hid the phone under the mattress, his heart pounding. Keisha's risk was a lifeline. He dialed Hargrove, the general's voice gruff but warm. "Tate, you're alive. MPs are coming. Stay low." Marcus exhaled, hope flaring. The Pentagon's muscle could break this cage. He tucked the phone away, the jail's hum now a countdown. Minutes later, boots thundered. Briggs and Vance burst in, batons drawn, their faces twisted. "Resisting again, huh?" Briggs swung, the baton cracking Marcus's shoulder. Vance joined, blows raining on his ribs, his leg buckling. Blood pooled in his mouth, the cell spinning. "You don't learn," Vance hissed, kicking the burner phone from Marcus's hand. It shattered, Hargrove's promise cut off. Marcus curled, protecting his head, pain a white-hot fog. The guards dragged him to solitary, a pitch-black box, the door slamming. His body screamed, bruises blooming, but his mind clung to Keisha's. Fire, the inmates' nods, Hargrove's vow. The line had struck, their fists heavier than the yard's shanks, but Marcus wasn't broken. Solitary's walls pressed in, the silence deafening, but he whispered to himself a soldier's mantra: survive. The jail's pulse faded, his blood dripping on concrete. The line thought they'd silenced him, but MPs were coming, and Marcus had allies. The fight wasn't over. Drop a comment with number 1 if you're boiling at the line's brutality, hit like, and subscribe to see Marcus's next move, because this war's about to explode. Can the MPs reach him before the line's next strike? Marcus Tate's body screamed in the solitary cell's darkness, each breath a knife through bruised ribs. The county jail's concrete chilled his skin, blood crusting on his lip from the guards' batons. Briggs and Vance had left him broken. His burner phone shattered, General Hargrove's promise of MPs a faint hope. Chicago's South Side felt a world away, the line's racist grip tightening like a noose. His leg throbbed, shrapnel scars pulsing, but Marcus's mind stayed sharp, replaying Keisha's whispered vow. The inmates' nods in the yard. The line, led by Captain Vaughn, Carver's boss, had framed him for drugs, orchestrated the mob, bought the jail's muscle. They feared his Pentagon call, his silver star, his refusal to bend. Solitary silence was a tomb, but Marcus clung to his mantra, survive. The jail's pulse returned, faint at first, then louder. Boots, not guards' sneakers, but heavy, synchronized. A key scraped the lock, the door groaning open. Flashlights cut the black, pinning Marcus. A voice, crisp, military, barked, "Colonel Tate, on your feet." Marcus squinted, pain flaring as he stood, his limp heavy. 3 MPs in fatigues loomed, rifles slung, their leader, a sergeant with a scar across his cheek, nodding. General Hargrove, "Santos, move!" Marcus's chest loosened, hope sparking. The MPs cuffed him, procedure, not punishment, and marched him through the jail's maze. Guards like Briggs watched, frozen, their radios silent. The warden, a gaunt man with nervous eyes, met them at the gate, Hargrove's face glaring from a tablet via video call. "Release him now," the general snapped. "This is federal." The warden stammered, signing papers, his hands shaking. Marcus limped out, the MP's Humvee idling under Chicago's dawn sky, its exhaust curling like a ghost. The city's hum, horns, distant sirens felt alive again, the South Side sprawl stretching beyond the razor wire. The sergeant uncuffed him, handing him a water bottle. "You're safe, Colonel. Hargrove's got your back." Marcus nodded, gulping water, his ribs aching but his resolve iron. He'd survived the yard's shanks, the guards' fists, the line's lies. The MP's radios crackled, coordinates for a safe house, and Marcus let himself believe it was over. Carver's drug frame, the mob, the precinct's traps, they'd failed. The Humvee roared off, weaving through backstreets, the city waking in pinks and golds. Marcus's phone, returned by the MPs, buzzed with Keisha's text. "You're out." "Lay low," he typed back. "Safe, thanks for the phone." The sergeant's radio hissed, Hargrove's voice cutting through. "Colonel, I'm exposing Vaughn on CNN tonight. Stay hidden till then." Marcus's pulse quickened. Vaughn, the line's kingpin, ran a citywide extortion racket, and Hargrove's move could gut it. The safe house, a nondescript row home 10 miles. East loomed ahead, its windows dark. Marcus exhaled, the Humvee slowing. Freedom tasted real, the jail's stench fading. Then the windshield cracked, a bullet's whip snapping the air. The sergeant cursed, flooring the gas as another shot grazed the Humvee's hood. Marcus ducked, his training kicking in, spotting a rooftop flash. A sniper, black-clad, scope glinting. The line's retaliation, faster than he'd feared. The Humvee swerved, tires screeching, but a third bullet tore through Marcus's sleeve, grazing his arm. Blood seeped, hot and sharp, his ribs screaming as he pressed against the seat. The sergeant yelled, "Hold on!" The MPs returned fire, their rifles barking, but the sniper vanished, a ghost in the dawn. The Humvee skidded into an alley, the safe house 2 blocks away. Marcus's arm burned, but he stayed focused, scanning rooftops. The sergeant's radio crackled, a new voice, female, urgent. Keisha's contact, embedded with South Side rising. "Vaughn's on the move. He's the line's head, tied to gentrification scams, evicting black families, funding his cops." Marcus's jaw tightened. Vaughn wasn't just a captain, he was a puppeteer, and Marcus's escape had cut a string. The safe house's door loomed, the MPs hustling him inside. A cramped living room with boarded windows. A medic patched his arm, the graze shallow but stinging, while the sergeant briefed him. Vaughn's desperate. That sniper was his. Marcus nodded, pain a dull roar, his mind racing. Hargrove's CNN hit could expose Vaughn, but the line strike meant they'd kill to silence him. His phone buzzed, a news alert. Viral footage shows veteran attacking guards. Marcus's gut twisted. Doctored jail footage, leaked by Vaughn, painted him as a savage. Chicago's protests now split. Some chanting his name, others screaming for his head. Carver's face flashed on the screen, a media darling, calling Marcus a traitor to the badge. The MPs secured the house, but Marcus felt the walls closing in. Keisha's text lit up. Found Vaughn's money trail. He's done. Stay alive. Marcus typed back, his arm throbbing, his ribs a cage of pain. Trying. The safe house's air was stale, the city's pulse a distant thrum, but Marcus's eyes burned, plotting. The MPs were muscle, Hargrove's voice a hammer, but Vaughn's sniper was a warning. The line played for blood. He'd walked free, a win that shook the precinct, but Vaughn had turned it into a manhunt, the city his board. Marcus's arm bled through the bandage, his leg buckling, but he stood. The Silver Star a memory of wars won. The line's sniper had missed, but they'd try again, and Marcus was one man against a machine. The sergeant's radio hissed. Hargrove's aide checking in. Stay put, Colonel, we're moving on Vaughn. Marcus nodded, but doubt gnawed. The line's reach, cops, media, now snipers, felt endless. Keisha's intel on Vaughn's gentrification racket tied it all together. Evictions, payoffs, black neighborhoods gutted to fund the line's power. Marcus's escape had cracked their armor, but the sniper's bullet was their answer, a blade sharper than Carver's cuffs or Holt's drugs. The safe house's shadows danced, the MP's rifles ready, but Marcus's mind ticked, mapping the fight. Vaughn's desperation was a weakness, but his resources were a fortress. The city's hum grew louder, sirens faint but closing, and Marcus's hand tightened, his blood staining the floor. He'd survived the jail, the yard, the batons, but this was bigger, a war where heroes bled. The line's sniper had grazed him, but the next shot wouldn't miss. Marcus whispered his mantra, survive, and waited. The safe house a fragile shield against a city-turned hunter. Marcus Tate's arm stung. The sniper's graze bandaged but raw, as he crouched in the safe house's dim living room, Chicago's dawn light seeping through boarded windows. The MP's radios crackled, their rifles glinting, but the city's sirens, distant horns, felt like a tightening noose. The line, led by Captain Vaughn, had struck again, their sniper's bullet a warning after Marcus's jail escape. General Hargrove's promise of a CNN expose loomed, but Vaughn's doctored footage branding Marcus a traitor had split Chicago's streets. Protests raged, some for him, others against, fueled by the line's lies. Keisha's text burned. In his mind. Found Vaughn's money trail. He's done. Marcus clung to that, his ribs bruised, his leg afire from old shrapnel scars. The MP's sergeant, scar-faced and grim, nodded at the door. We're moving you, Colonel. Too hot here. Marcus limped out. The Humvee's engine a low growl, but his phone buzzed, Keisha's voice urgent. Meet me at Ray's bar, south side. It's safe. Rising's got a plan. He hesitated, the MP's orders strict, but Keisha was his anchor. He slipped away, whispering to the sergeant, cover me, I'll be back. The south side streets swallowed him, neon signs flickering, the air thick with barbecue and exhaust. Ray's bar, a black-owned dive on 63rd Street, glowed under a crooked sign, its windows taped from past riots. Marcus pushed inside, the jukebox thumping blues, the air heavy with whiskey and sweat. Keisha sat at a corner booth, her braids tucked under a cap, her laptop open. Ray, the bartender, a broad man with a gray beard, poured Marcus a coffee, his eyes warm but wary. Your trouble, Colonel, but you're our trouble, Ray said, sliding the mug over. Marcus sat, his arm throbbing, and Keisha leaned in, her voice low. Vaughn's racket's bigger than cops. He's funding gentrification, evicting black families, selling their homes to developers. Her screen showed bank records, wire transfers, Vaughn's name buried in shell companies. Marcus's jaw tightened. The line wasn't just racist. It was a machine gutting the South Side for profit. Keisha's plan was bold. Hack a police database, leak Vaughn's bribes to a journalist, expose the line's heart. Marcus, a recon's vet, new tech, his fingers itching for a keyboard. Ray handed him a burner laptop, Southside Rising's gift. Marcus cracked the precinct's firewall, sweat beading, his ribs aching as lines of code scrolled. Keisha watched, her breath quick. "You're in?" Marcus nodded, pulling files. Vaughn's payments to judges, reporters, even the mayor's aide. He zipped the data, sent it to a Tribune contact, and exhaled. Done. Keisha grinned, fist-bumping him. This'll bury him. Ray poured shots, the bars hum electric, patrons toasting Marcus's name. The news hit hours later, the Tribune's headline screaming, "Police captain linked to corruption." Vaughn's face flashed on the bar's TV, his suspension announced, Chicago's protests swelling. Marcus's chest loosened, hope flaring. The line was cracking, Carver's smears fading. Hargrove's CNN hit now a sledgehammer. He clinked. Glasses with Keisha, Ray laughing. The bar a fortress of defiance. They'd won, turned Vaughn's own system against him. The jukebox wailed, patrons chanting Free Tate, and Marcus let himself smile, his arms pain a dull hum. Then the air shifted, a chemical whiff cutting through the whiskey. Smoke curled from the back, a crackle growing. Ray frowned, sniffing. That ain't the grill. Keisha's eyes widened, her laptop slamming shut. Marcus stood, his leg buckling, but his senses screamed, ambush. Flames erupted, the back door a wall of fire, patrons coughing, scrambling. Ray yelled, out the front. But the front door sparked, gasoline-soaked rags igniting, trapping them. Marcus's heart pounded, the line's signature clear. Vaughn, suspended, but unbowed, had struck back. Keisha grabbed a fire extinguisher, spraying foam, but the flames roared, wood splintering. Marcus scanned, spotting a side window, its bars loose. "Ray, get everyone there!" He limped over, his arm bleeding through the bandage, and pried the bars with a crowbar Ray tossed. Patrons choked, the bar's air blackening, but Marcus's training held, his voice steady. "One at a time, move!" Keisha helped, her cap gone, her face smudged with soot. The window gave, patrons spilling into an alley, gasping. Marcus pushed Keisha out, turning for Ray, who was at the bar grabbing a cash box. The ceiling groaned, beams snapping. Marcus lunged, tackling Ray as a fireball erupted, the bar's heart collapsing. They crawled out, the alley's air a lifeline. But Ray coughed, blood flecking his lips, his arm burned raw. Marcus's ribs screamed, his leg a dead weight, but he dragged Ray clear, Keisha shouting for an ambulance. Sirens wailed not help but cops, their lights pinning the alley. Officer Carver stepped out, his smirk a blade, Holt at his side. "Arson, Tate," Carver said, pointing at the burning bar. "You're done." Marcus froze, the crowd's phones filming, the Tribune's leak now a distant echo. Vaughn's fire wasn't just revenge, it was a frame pinning Marcus as the torch. Keisha's eyes blazed, her voice cutting through. "You set this!" Carver ignored her, cuffs gleaming, his radio crackling with Vaughn's orders. The bar's ruins, smoked, patrons sobbing, Ray wheezing in Marcus's arms. The line had turned his victory, the leak, Vaughn's suspension, into ash, the city their weapon. Marcus's arm bled, his body broken, but his gaze locked on Carver, a promise. The cops advanced, the alley a trap, Chicago's pulse a war drum. Vaughn's fire had gutted the bar, framed Marcus, endangered lives, all to silence him. The leak had hurt the line, but they'd hit harder, their claws in the news, the streets, the flames. Marcus stood supporting Ray, Keisha at his side, the cuffs closing in. The city watched, some filming, others fleeing, the South Side's heart burning. Marcus's silver star, a memory of battles won, fueled him. The line's arson was a desperate blow, but desperation bred mistakes. He'd find them, expose them, break them. The cuffs snapped, Carver's laugh echoing, but Marcus's eyes burned, plotting, waiting. The bar's ashes settled, but the war was alive. Drop a comment with #1 if you're furious at Vaughn's ruthless fire. Hit like and subscribe to see Marcus's next stand, because this fight's far from over. Will Marcus escape the arson frame, or is the line's trap too tight? Marcus Tate's boots sank into the mud as he and Keisha sprinted through the South Side's backroads, the burning bar's smoke still clinging to their clothes. Chicago's night swallowed them, The city's pulse a mix of distant sirens and crickets, the arson frame up a fresh wound. Captain Vaughan, the line's mastermind, had torched Ray's bar and pinned it on Marcus, turning his leaked evidence, a Tribune headline exposing Vaughan's bribes, into ashes. Ray, burned and coughing, was in an ambulance, but Carver's cuffs had snapped on Marcus until Keisha's quick call to Southside Rising stalled the arrest, citing the crowd's footage of cops ignoring the fire. They'd slipped away, but the city was a manhunt. Marcus's face plastered on every screen as an arsonist. His arm bled through its bandage, the sniper's graze from hours ago a dull throb, his ribs bruised from jailhouse batons. Keisha's eyes, fierce under her singed cap, scanned the shadows. "We need cover, Marcus. Rising's got a spot rural, 30 miles out." Marcus nodded, his legs screaming, shrapnel scars flaring, but his military grit held. The line's claws, cops, media. Now arson kept striking, each blow heavier, but he'd survived worse in Iraq. They hitched a ride with a rising ally, a quiet trucker who dropped them at a gravel road, the city's glow fading behind. The safe house, a weathered cabin tucked in a forest clearing, smelled of pine and dust, its windows shuttered. Keisha locked the door, her laptop humming as she pulled up Vaughan's money trail, her voice tight. "We hurt him, but he's not down." Marcus sank onto a cot, his body a map of pain, but his mind ticked, replaying the bar's flames, Carver's smirk, the Tribune's hit. The line's gentrification scam, evicting black families for profit, was Vaughan's engine, and Marcus's leak had jammed it. He'd thought it a victory, but Vaughan's fire had burned that hope, framing him, endangering Ray. Keisha's phone buzzed, a call from Jamal Carter, their lawyer, his voice strained. "Time coming, but watch your back. The line's got eyes." Marcus frowned, Jamal's tone off, but trusted him. Jamal's courtroom win, dismantling Carver's lies, had freed them once. He'd do it again. The cabin's air was heavy, the forest's silence a fragile shield. Keisha dug through Rising's files, her fingers flying. Vaughan's paying off half the city, even judges. That's why Ross bailed. Marcus nodded. Judge Ross's recusal now clear. She'd been threatened. The lines. Dirt on her too deep. A car's rumble broke the quiet, headlights slicing the shutters. Marcus tensed, grabbing a kitchen knife, his arm stinging. Keisha whispered, "It's Jamal, he's early." The door creaked, Jamal stepping in, his suit rumpled, his eyes darting. "You're alive, Colonel." "Good." Marcus relaxed, lowering the knife. But Jamal's hands shook, his breath quick. Keisha frowned, sensing it too. "What's wrong?" Jamal's voice cracked. "They got to me, I'm sorry." Before Marcus could react, tires screeched outside, engines roaring. Floodlights blasted the cabin, shadows moving, Vaughan's goons, armed, circling. Jamal's betrayal hit like a fist. He'd sold them out, likely for cash or safety. Marcus lunged for the back door, Keisha grabbing her laptop. But flames erupted, gasoline-soaked rags igniting the cabin's walls. The line's playbook again. Fire their weapon. Vaughan's orders clear. Marcus's training kicked in, his voice sharp. Forest now. He smashed a window, glass cutting his palm, and pushed Keisha out, her laptop clutched tight. The goons fired. Bullets splintering wood, the cabin a furnace. Marcus dove after her, his leg buckling, the forest's darkness their only cover. They ran, branches clawing, gunfire echoing, the cabin's blaze lighting the sky. Marcus's arm bled, his ribs. A cage of pain, but he led. His recon skills mapping the terrain, creaked to the left, ridge ahead. Keisha panted, her voice fierce. "Jamal's dead to us." Marcus nodded, betrayal a fresh scar, but no time to grieve. The goons' shouts faded, their floodlights pinned to the burning cabin, but Marcus knew Vaughan's reach. Sniper, fire, now this. They hit a clearing, a dirt road glinting under moonlight, and flagged a passing van, a black woman driver with Rising's logo on her jacket. "Officer Lena," she said. "Off duty, her badge tucked away." "I'm with you." Marcus hesitated, trust thin. After Jamal, but Lena's eyes were steady, her van a lifeline. They piled in, the forest shrinking, the cabin's smoke a distant smear. Lena's voice was calm, her hands firm on the wheel. "Rising sent me. Vaughan's burning bridges, but we've got his bank records." She handed Keisha a USB, transactions linking Vaughn to offshore accounts, proof of his gentrification payoffs. Marcus's hope flickered, Lena's evidence a weapon to finish what the Tribune leak started. They reached a motel, Lena's safe spot, its neon sign buzzing. She parked, pulling files, her voice low. This ties Vaughn to the mayor, developers, even feds. Marcus leaned in, his arm's pain fading, the data a map to the line's heart. Keisha plugged the USB into her laptop, screens glowing, Vaughn's empire exposed. Marcus felt the tide turning, Lena's proof a blade to cut the line down. He'd outrun Vaughn's goons, saved Keisha, found an ally. The motel's hum, crickets, AC units felt like victory, the line's fire a misstep. Lena planned a sting, her precinct contacts clean, ready to arrest Vaughn. Marcus nodded, his body aching but his resolve iron. Then a gunshot cracked, Lena's chest blooming red, her body slumping. Marcus dove, pulling Keisha down, the motel's window shattering. Lena's partner, Officer Grant, stepped from the shadows, his gun smoking, his grin cold. "Vaughn bought me," he said, badge glinting. "You're next, Tate." Marcus's heart stopped, Lena's blood pooling, her files scattered. Grant fired again, bullets chewing the wall, Keisha scrambling for the USB. Marcus shielded her, his arm bleeding, his legs screaming, Lena's body heavy in his arms. The sting, the evidence, their win. It was a trap. Vaughn's claws in Lena's. Partner, turning ally into assassin. The motel's neon flickered, Chicago's pulse a war drum, Grant's gun trained on Marcus. The line had struck, harder than the bar's fire, Jamal's betrayal, the sniper's graze. Marcus's silver star, a memory of battles won, burned in his chest. He'd escaped the cabin, found Lena's proof, but Grant's bullet had flipped it, leaving him holding a dead cop, framed again. Keisha's eyes blazed, her hand on the USB, their last hope. Marcus's mind raced, plotting, the motel's shadows a battlefield. The line's murder was desperate, but desperation bred cracks. He'd find them, fight on, for Lena, for Ray, for the South Side. Grant's boots crunched closer, his gun steady, but Marcus's gaze locked, unbowed, waiting. The city watched, its heart bleeding, but Marcus wasn't done. Marcus Tate's hands shook as he clutched Officer Lena's USB drive, her blood still warm on his fingers, the motel room's shattered glass glinting under Chicago's moonlight. Officer Grant, Lena's traitorous partner, stood outside, his gun trained, his smirk a blade. The line led by Captain Vaughn had struck again, turning Lena's evidence, bank records tying Vaughn to gentrification scams, into a death sentence. Keisha crouched beside Marcus, her laptop stuffed in her bag, her eyes blazing despite the gunfire chewing the walls. Marcus's arm bled, the sniper's graze from days ago joined by fresh cuts, his ribs a cage of pain from jailhouse batons, his legs screaming with shrapnel scars. The South Side's pulse, sirens, distant shouts, felt like a war drum, the line's claws deeper than ever. Grant's voice cut through cold. "Come out, Tate, or I paint the walls with you." Marcus's mind raced, his military training mapping. The room. One door, broken window, no cover. Lena's body lay heavy, her sacrifice a fire in his chest. She'd died for the USB, proof of Vaughn's payoffs to judges, developers, feds. Marcus wouldn't let it burn. He whispered to Keisha, "Back window now." They crawled, glass biting their palms, Grant's bullets splintering wood. Marcus kicked out a rear window, shoving Keisha through, her bag catching but holding. He followed, his leg buckling, the motel's neon buzzing as they hit the alley. Grant's shouts echoed, but the darkness swallowed them. Chicago's sprawl, a maze of shadows. They ran, Keisha's breath ragged, Marcus's arm dripping blood, the USB a lifeline in his pocket. The line's betrayal, Jamal's sellout, Lena's murder, had gutted their allies, but Keisha's fire and Lena's evidence kept Marcus moving. They ducked into a vacant lot, the city's skyline looming, and Keisha pulled her laptop, her fingers flying. "We upload this," she hissed. "Show the world Vaughn's dirt." Marcus nodded, his silver star a memory of battles won, his resolve iron despite the pain. Keisha hacked a public Wi-Fi, uploading Lena's files to Southside Rising's servers, the data streaming to every social platform. Bank records, emails, Vaughn's name in bold went viral, hashtags exploding, Ars exposed the line, Ars justice fortate. Chicago's streets roared, black communities rallying, protesters flooding the South Side, their chants echoing Marcus's name. Keisha's screen glowed, thousands retweeting, the city waking. Marcus's chest loosened, hope flaring. Lena's. Death wasn't for nothing. The USB was a bomb and they'd lit the fuse. They slipped into a rising safe house, a basement barbershop, its chairs dusty, mirrors cracked. Activists greeted them, fists raised, phones buzzing with the viral leak. A TV blared, protesters marching, signs reading, "Free Tate, end the line." Marcus sank into a chair, his arm throbbing, Keisha briefing Rising's leaders. "We've got Vaughn's backers cornered," she said. "The mayor's next." Marcus's eyes flicked to the screen, the protests swelling. Thousands strong, black Chicagoans leading, their voices a tide. He pulled a scarf over his face, his limp heavy, but unyielding. "I'm going out there." Keisha frowned but nodded, tossing him a hoodie. "Lead them, Colonel." Marcus hit the streets, the protest's energy electric, the South Side alive with rage and hope. He joined the march, masked, his voice booming through a megaphone stolen from a rising ally. "Vaughn's done. We've got proof." The crowd roared, fists pumping, their chant shaking the pavement. No justice, no peace. Marcus led them toward City Hall, 10 blocks north, the skyline's glass towers gleaming. Cops lined the route, batons ready, but the crowd's size held them back. Marcus's heart pounded, the USB's leak a sword, the line's armor cracking. At City Hall's steps, the mayor, a slick man named Ellis, emerged, his tie perfect, his smile forced. "Reform's coming," he said, cameras flashing. "We hear you." The crowd cheered, Marcus's scarf hiding his grin. Ellis was scared, Vaughn's suspension and the leak forcing his hand. Marcus thought they'd won, the protest a victory, Lena's. Blood avenged. The mayor's promise felt like a dawn, the line's grip slipping. Then the city plunged into darkness, streetlights dying, skyscrapers black, the protest's roar faltering. Marcus froze, the megaphone silent, the crowd's phones flickering out. A blackout, citywide, unnatural. Keisha grabbed his arm, her voice sharp. "This ain't a glitch. Vaughn." Sirens wailed, not cops, but chaos, looters, hired. Marcus knew, smashing. Storefronts, their faces masked, but their timing too perfect. Tear gas canisters hissed, the line's goons firing into the crowd, screams erupting. Marcus pulled Keisha back, his arm bleeding, his leg buckling, the protest scattering. News vans, still powered, blared, riots erupt, veteran suspect blamed. Marcus's face flashed, the doctored jail footage looping, now tied to the blackout. Vaughn's voice, calm on radio, called Marcus the mastermind, a black terrorist tearing Chicago apart. The crowd splintered, some fighting, others fleeing. The mayor's promise drowned in chaos. Marcus's gut twisted. The USB's victory flipped into a trap. The line hadn't just struck. They'd crippled the city, framing the protest as Marcus's crime. Keisha's eyes blazed, her bag clutched tight. "They hacked the grid," she hissed. "Paid those looters. We're still alive, though." Marcus nodded, his ribs screaming. The South Side streets a battlefield. The blackout's darkness hid them, but Vaughn's goons prowled, their flashlights cutting the haze. Marcus's scarf slipped, his face exposed. Protesters still chanting his name, but others, swayed by Vaughn's lies, shouted, "Traitor." The line's blackout wasn't just chaos. It was a noose, tightening on Marcus, Keisha, the South Side itself. His silver star burned in his memory, battles won against worse odds. The protest had shaken the line, but Vaughn's counter, grid hack, looters, media spin, was a gut punch, racist to its core, painting black defiance as destruction. Marcus grabbed Keisha, ducking into an alley, the city's pulse a scream. The USB's truth was out, but Vaughn's lie was louder, Chicago tearing itself apart. Marcus's arm bled, his body broken, but his resolve held, plotting, waiting. The line's trap was vast, but traps had flaws. He'd find them, fight on, for Lena, for Ray, for the city. Drop a comment with number 1 if you're raging at Vaughn's city-crushing lies. Hit like and subscribe to see Marcus's next move, because this war's about to ignite. Can Marcus turn the Blackout's chaos into a weapon, or is the line's frame too heavy? Marcus Tate's boots skidded in the alley's muck, the Blackout's darkness cloaking Chicago's south side, as he and Keisha fled the shattered protest. The city's pulse, screams, breaking glass, distant gunfire, throbbed like a wound. Captain Vaughn's grid hack, turning Marcus's viral expose into a riot pinned on him. The line's looters, paid to frame black defiance as chaos, had gutted the march. Vaughn's voice on radio branding, Marcus a terrorist. Keisha's breath rasped, her laptop bag clutched tight. Lena's USB data, proof of Vaughn's gentrification racket, still live online, fueling protests despite the blackout. Marcus's arm bled, the sniper's graze a raw sting, his ribs bruised from jail, his leg a fire of shrapnel scars. The line's claws, cops, media, fire, murder kept striking, each blow racist, relentless, but Marcus's silver star burned in his chest, battles won against worse odds. They ducked behind a dumpster, tear gas haze stinging their eyes, Vaughn's goons sweeping the streets with flashlights. Keisha's phone buzzed, a faint signal breaking through. "It's rising," she whispered, reading. "They're rallying at Englewood, pushing your name." Marcus nodded, hope flickering, but the Blackout's chaos drowned it. The line's frame, arson, drugs, now riots, was a noose, and Vaughn's desperation meant blood. Marcus's fingers grazed his pocket, the USB's weight a reminder of Lena's sacrifice, Ray's burns, Jamal's betrayal. He'd hurt the line, but they'd hurt harder, their racist machine chewing the south side. A chopper's thrum cut the night, its spotlight pinning the alley. Marcus tensed, expecting Vaughn's sniper, but the chopper's markings gleamed, U.S. Army. General Hargrove's voice crackled over a loudspeaker. "Colonel Tate, stand by. Extraction." Marcus's chest loosened, his Pentagon call from the cafe, days ago finally bearing fruit. Keisha's eyes widened, her cap askew. "They're here." Marcus nodded, waving his hoodie, the chopper descending, a rope ladder dropping. MPs rappelled down, rifles ready, their leader, a lieutenant with a buzz cut, saluting. "Hargrove's orders, sir, you're secure." Marcus climbed, pain searing his arm, Keisha behind, the chopper lifting them above the Blackout's chaos. Chicago's skyline flickered, looters' fires dotting the streets, but the military base 20 miles west was a beacon. The chopper landed, MPs escorting them to a bunker, its steel doors sealing the city's scream. Hargrove's face glowed on a video screen, his four-star bars stark. "Tate, you're alive. CNN's airing Vaughn's racket now. Carver's in cuffs." Marcus exhaled. The bunkers hum, generators, radios, a lifeline. Carver, the racist cop, who'd started this with a loitering arrest, was down. Vaughn's suspension public, the USB's leak a tidal wave. Keisha grinned, her laptop open, Rising's feeds showing protests doubling, Chicago chanting for justice. The bunker's air was cool, MPs offering water, a medic checking Marcus's arm, his ribs, his leg. Hargrove's voice boomed. "Stay put. Colonel, we're dismantling the line." Marcus nodded, his body aching but his mind clear. The protest's fire, Lena's blood, Ray's bar. They'd won this round, the line's frame cracking under global eyes. He sank into a chair, Keisha mapping Rising's next move, the base a fortress against Vaughn's reach. He'd thought, the sniper, the fire, the blackout were the line's worst, but Hargrove's muscle and CNN's spotlight felt like victory, the South Side's heart still beating. Then his phone buzzed, a video link, no sender. Marcus clicked, his gut twisting. Keisha, tied to a chair, stared out, a bomb strapped to her chest, its timer ticking. 10 minutes. Vaughn's face loomed, his captain's badge gone, but his smirk. "Alive. Tate, you thought you'd won. Surrender or she dies." The feed showed a warehouse south side, its address flashing. Marcus's heart stopped, but Keisha was beside him, alive, her eyes wide. "It's fake," she hissed, checking her phone. "No, it's live. They've got my sister, Tasha." Marcus's blood ran cold, the bunker's safety a lie. Tasha, Keisha's twin, a nurse who'd rallied with Rising, was Vaughan's pawn, his racist vendetta, now personal. Hargrove's voice cut in, stern. "Colonel, we can't move. Political fallout. You're on your own." Marcus's jaw tightened. The Pentagon's retreat a betrayal, their victory hollow. Keisha grabbed her bag, her voice steel. "We save her." Marcus nodded, his arm bleeding, his leg buckling, but his resolve iron. The MPs hesitated, the lieutenant's eyes torn, but orders held. Marcus slipped out, Keisha leading, a stolen jeep their only ride. The base's gates opened. Chicago's. Blackout swallowing them. The warehouse 10 miles east. Tasha's life ticking away. Marcus's mind raced, his recon skills mapping the route. Back roads, avoid checkpoints, dodge Vaughan's goons. The jeep roared. Keisha's phone streaming. The feed. Tasha's eyes defiant despite the bomb's red glow. Vaughan's voice looped, a taunt. "Come alone, Tate, or she's dust." The line's trap was clear, racist to its core, targeting Keisha's family to break Marcus's fight. The city's darkness hid them, but Vaughan's reach, sniper, fire. Blackout, now this was a guillotine. Marcus's arm throbbed, his ribs screaming, but he floored the gas, the south side streets a blur. Hargrove's CNN hit played on a distant radio. Vaughan's crimes exposed, but the kidnap feed was louder. Tasha's life, the cost of Marcus's defiance. He'd escaped jail, led protests, leaked Vaughan's dirt, but the line's counter was apocalyptic, a bomb to silence the South Side's heart. Keisha's fingers gripped the wheel, her voice a vow. "We get her back, Marcus." He nodded, the USB in his pocket, Lena's blood afire. Ray's burns a call. The warehouse loomed, its windows dark. Vaughan's trap waiting. Marcus's silver star. Battles won in blood fueled him. The line's kidnap was a desperate blow, but desperation bred cracks. He'd find Tasha, break Vaughan, fight on. The jeep skidded to a stop. The timer's tick a pulse in his skull. Chicago's blackout. A shroud. Marcus stepped out, his body broken, his eyes burning, ready. Marcus Tate's boots crunched gravel outside the abandoned warehouse. Chicago's blackout cloaking the south side in a suffocating veil. The jeep's engine ticked behind him. Keisha's silhouette tense in the passenger seat, her phone streaming. The live feed of her sister Tasha, bound to a chair, a bomb's timer blinking 7 minutes. Captain Vaughan's voice, smug on the feed, echoed in Marcus's skull. "Come alone, Tate, or she's dust." The line, Vaughan's racist cop clique, had kidnapped Tasha to crush Marcus's defiance, their latest blow after a sniper, arson, and a citywide blackout. His arm bled, the sniper's graze raw, his ribs bruised from jail, his leg a blaze of shrapnel scars. The USB in his pocket, Lena's evidence of Vaughan's gentrification racket, had gone viral, fueling protests, but Vaughan's trap, racist to its core, held Tasha's life. Marcus's silver star burned in his chest. Battles won in blood. But Chicago's pulse, looters' shouts, distant fires felt like a noose. Keisha's eyes, fierce despite her fear, met his. "I'm with you, Marcus." He nodded, his military training mapping the warehouse, rusted doors, broken windows, shadows, hiding Vaughan's goons. The timer ticked, 6 minutes. Tasha's defiance clear despite her bonds. Marcus whispered, "Stay back. Cover me." Keisha gripped a tire iron, her phone recording, Rising's network watching. Marcus slipped inside, the warehouse's air thick, with oil and rot, its rafters creaking. His arm throbbed, but his recon skills kicked in, eyes adjusting to the dark. Footsteps echoed, 2 goons ahead, their radios hissing. Marcus crouched, grabbing a loose pipe, his leg screaming but steady. He moved, silent as a ghost, and struck, the pipe cracking one goon's skull, the other's arm snapping before he could shout. Both crumpled, their radios dead. Marcus's breath quick but controlled. The timer's glow led him deeper, Tasha's chair in a clearing, the bomb's wires a tangle. She saw him, her eyes wide, voice low. "Marcus, it's a trap." He nodded, cutting her ropes with a shard of glass, his hands steady despite the pain. 5 minutes. The bomb's display blinked, but Marcus's training, EOD in Iraq, guided him. Red wire, then blue, snip, The timer froze, the bomb dead. Tasha exhaled, tears streaking, and Marcus pulled her up, his arm bleeding through its bandage. "We're out," he said, but the warehouse's hum shifted, a new hum, mechanical. Vaughan's voice crackled over hidden speakers. "Nice try, Tate. You forgot the second one." A click echoed. A second bomb's timer, glowing in the rafters. 3 minutes. No wires, just a sealed box. Marcus's gut twisted. The line's cruelty a blade, racist in its precision, targeting Tasha to break him. Keisha burst in, tire iron raised, her voice sharp. "Move!" They ran, Tasha stumbling, Marcus shielding her, his leg buckling as the warehouse's walls shook. The second bomb's blast roared, steel beams collapsing, shrapnel tearing Marcus's leg, blood soaking his jeans. He screamed, falling, but pushed Tasha and Keisha ahead, debris choking the air. The warehouse crumbled, flames licking the night, but they hit the exit, the Jeep's headlights a beacon. Keisha dragged Marcus in, Tasha sobbing, the Jeep peeling. Out as the warehouse burned, Chicago's blackout hiding their escape. Marcus's vision blurred, shrapnel in his leg, a white-hot spike, but he clung to Tasha's hand, her pulse, proof of victory. They'd saved her, defied Vaughan. The bomb's tick silenced. Keisha floored the gas, her phone buzzing with Rising's cheers, the feed showing Tasha free. Marcus's chest heaved, hope flaring despite the pain. The line's trap had failed. Gather's second bomb, a desperate miss. Then his phone lit up, a new alert. Tate declared black terrorist. Vaughan's manifesto, leaked to every news outlet, painted Marcus as a warlord. The blackout, arson, even Lena's murder his doing. The feed shifted. Tasha's rescue twisted, claiming Marcus had planted the bomb. Chicago's protests once, for him now split. Some cursing his name, swayed by Vaughan's lies. The Pentagon's logo flashed, a statement cutting ties, labeling Marcus rogue. Hargrove's voice, once a lifeline, was silent, his CNN expose drowned by Vaughan's spin. Marcus's blood pooled in the Jeep, his leg a ruin but his eyes burned, rage swallowing pain. The line's manifesto, racist to its core, turned his heroism into a trope, isolating him, breaking his allies. Keisha's voice cracked, her hands shaking. "They're lying, Marcus. We've got the USB." He nodded, but the Pentagon's betrayal hit harder than the shrapnel, their retreat leaving him exposed. Tasha's eyes, grateful but haunted, met his. "You saved me, but they won't stop." Marcus's jaw tightened, the Jeep weaving through blacked-out streets, looters' fires dotting the horizon. The warehouse's blast was the line's heaviest blow, a racist vendetta to crush the South Side's fight. He'd saved Tasha, a win that shook Vaughan's cage, but the manifesto, the Pentagon's cut, was a guillotine, framing him as the city's enemy. Keisha's phone buzzed, Rising's plan forming, but Marcus's vision swam, blood loss pulling him under. The Jeep's hum faded, Chicago's pulse a distant drum, but his silver star, battles won in blood, kept him conscious. The line's trap was vast, but he'd cracked their bombs, their lies, their fires. Vaughan's manifesto was desperate, and desperation bred flaws. Marcus's hand gripped the USB, Lena's blood a vow, Ray's burns a call, Tasha's life a spark. He'd fight on for Keisha, for the South Side, for truth. The Jeep hit a safe house, a boarded-up church, Rising's last stand, but Marcus's eyes fluttered, his body failing, the city's blackout a shroud. He wasn't done, but the war was cruel. Marcus Tate's blood soaked the church's pew, his leg a mangled ruin from the warehouse shrapnel, his arm raw from the sniper's graze, his ribs screaming with every breath. Chicago's blackout cloaked the South Side, the city's pulse, looters' shouts, distant explosions, a fevered thrum. The safe house, a boarded-up church run by South Side Rising, hummed with activists, their faces lit by candlelight, Keisha's laptop glowing as she patched Marcus's wounds. Tasha, her sister, sat close, saved from Vaughan's bomb but shaken, her nurse's hand steadying Marcus's arm. The line, led by Captain Vaughan, had struck with a manifesto branding Marcus a black terrorist, twisting his rescue of Tasha into a crime. The Pentagon's betrayal, cutting ties, calling him rogue, had left him exposed, General Hargrove's CNN expose drowned by Vaughan's lies. Lena's USB, proof of Vaughan's gentrification racket, still fueled protests, but the city was fracturing. Some chanting Marcus's name, others cursing him, swayed by the line's racist spin. His silver star burned in his chest, battles won in blood, but his body faltered, vision blurring. Keisha's voice, fierce, cut through. "Stay with us, Marcus. We're hitting back." Her plan was reckless. Hack City Hall's servers. Broadcast. Vaughan's crimes live. Force Chicago to see the line's heart. Marcus nodded, pain a white-hot fog, but his recon skills flared, fingers itching for a keyboard. The church's air was thick with wax and hope, Rising's activists arming themselves with phones, laptops, truth. Tasha bandaged his leg, her voice soft. "You saved me. Now save yourself." Marcus's jaw tightened, the USB in his pocket a vow for Lena's blood, Ray's burns, the South Side's fight. Keisha led him to a corner, a burner laptop ready, Rising's tech crew rigging a satellite link to bypass the blackout. Marcus's hands slick with blood typed, cracking City Hall's firewall, his military cyber training a blade. Lines of code scrolled, Vaughan's files, bribes, evictions, payoffs to feds, unlocked, ready to stream. Keisha's eyes blazed. Her phone recording. "Go live, Colonel." Marcus hit enter, the church's walls trembling as the broadcast hijacked every screen in Chicago. Vaughan's face filled the feed, his bank records scrolling, a leaked audio of him slurring black communities, as trash playing on loop. Protesters outside roared, their chants shaking the city, Rising's feed exploding with millions watching. Marcus's chest heaved, hope surging despite the pain. The hack was a sledgehammer, the line's lies cracking. News broke. Officer Carver. Vaughan's lackey turned, testifying against him, his voice shaky on air. Vaughan's empire, cops, judges, developers crumbled, Chicago's pulse shifting, the blackout's chaos turning to rage against the line. Marcus leaned back, his leg afire, Tasha's hand on his shoulder, Keisha grinning. "We did it," she said, the church's candles flickering like stars. Carver's betrayal of Vaughan, the live broadcast, the city's awakening. It felt like victory, the South Side's heart beating strong. Marcus's vision swam, but he smiled, thinking Lena's death, Ray's burns, Tasha's bomb were avenged. The line was bleeding, Vaughan cornered, his manifesto a fading lie. Then boots thundered outside, floodlights blasting the churches, stained glass shattering it. Gunfire erupted, bullets chewing pews, activists screaming. Vaughan's militia, no badges, just masks and rifles, stormed in, their radios hissing his orders. Marcus dove, pulling Keisha and Tasha behind an altar, his legs screaming, blood pooling. The broadcast still streamed, Vaughan's crimes live. But the militia's attack was the line's last stand, racist fury unleashed. A masked leader shouted, "Tate, you're dead." Marcus's heart pounded, the church a battlefield, Rising's activists fighting with pipes, chairs, anything. Keisha's laptop sparked, hit by a bullet, but the feed held, millions watching. Marcus's training kicked in, his eyes scanning. Altar, side door, crypt below. He whispered, "Crypt. Move." They crawled, Tasha dragging his leg, bullets splintering wood. The militia's fire was relentless, but Marcus spotted Vaughan unmasked, his eyes wild, rifle raised. The captain's desperation was clear, his empire exposed, his only weapon, chaos. Marcus's arm bled, his body failing, but he grabbed a dropped phone, streaming Vaughan's rampage, the world seeing the line's truth. In the crypt, dank and cold, Marcus rigged the phone to a speaker, Vaughan's voice booming, "Burn it all." The broadcast caught it, a confession, Chicago gasping. Activists barricaded the crypt, their phones live, the city's protests doubling, sirens closing. Marcus's vision darkened, but he stood, facing Vaughan through a cracked door, the captain's. Rifle trained. "You lose, Tate," Vaughan spat, but Marcus's voice was steel. "World's watching, Captain, what's your move?" Vaughan froze, the feeds counter-spinning, billions now, his confession viral. The militia hesitated, cops outside, clean ones, Rising's allies, breaching the church. Vaughan's rifle shook, his empire ash, but he fired, the bullet grazing. Marcus's shoulder, blood spraying. Marcus lunged, tackling Vaughn, pinning him, the phone catching every word. "I run this city, Tate. You're nothing." The confession streamed, Chicago's roar drowning the gunfire, the militia scattering as cops stormed in. Marcus held Vaughn, his body a ruin, Tasha and Keisha shielding activists, the crypt's air thick with dust. The broadcast was a triumph. Vaughn's own words his noose, Carver's testimony sealing it. The city saw the line's heart, racist and rotten, and rose against it. Marcus's blood pooled, his eyes fluttering, but he thought it was over. The church's siege a victory. The line broken. Then flames erupted, the militia's last act, gasoline igniting the church's beams, trapping them. Marcus's heart sank, Vaughn's laugh echoing as he slipped free, the fire a racist blade to burn the South Side's hope. Keisha screamed. Tasha coughing, the crypt's door blocked. The broadcast still lived but fading. Marcus's silver star, battles won in blood, flickered, his body failing, the flames closing in. The line's fire was their cruelest blow, a desperate act to silence truth. But Marcus's eyes burned, plotting, fighting for Lena, for Ray, for Tasha, for Chicago. The church's walls cracked, the city's pulse a fading drum, but he wasn't done. Marcus Tate's blood painted the crypt's stone floor, his leg a shredded mess from warehouse shrapnel, his arm raw from a sniper's graze, his shoulder leaking from Vaughn's last shot. The church's beams groaned above, flames roaring, as Captain Vaughn's militia set the Southside sanctuary ablaze, their final racist act to silence Marcus's truth. Chicago's blackout cloaked the city, its pulse, screams shattering glass, a dying heartbeat. Keisha coughed, her braids matted with ash, clutching Tasha, whose nurse's hands pressed Marcus's wounds. The lines broadcast, hijacked by Marcus's hack still streamed Vaughn's confession. "I run this city, Tate, you're nothing." To billions, Chicago's protests erupting, clean cops breaching the church. Vaughn, pinned moments ago, had slipped free, his laugh echoing as the fire trapped them. Marcus's silver star, battles won in blood, flickered in his chest, his vision blurring, but his resolve was iron. Lena's USB, Ray's burns, Tasha's bomb. They'd fought for this, exposed the line's gentrification racket, its racist core. The crypt's air choked with smoke. The door blocked, but Marcus's eyes scanned, finding a grate, a tunnel below. Rising's whispers of an old escape route. He croaked, "Tunnel. Move." Keisha nodded, dragging Tasha, her strength fierce despite the haze. Marcus crawled, his leg dragging, shrapnel grinding bone, pain a white-hot scream. Activists followed, their phones dim but live, streaming the fire, the world watching. The grate creaked, rusted but loose, and Marcus pried it, his arm's blood slicking the metal. They dropped into a damp tunnel, earth and mold swallowing the fire's roar, the city's pulse faint. Marcus led, his body failing, Tasha's hands steadying him, Keisha's voice a vow. "We're out, Marcus. Keep going." The tunnel twisted, roots snagging, but light gleamed ahead, an exit to a vacant lot. They emerged gasping, the church's flames a distant glow, Chicago's blackout hiding their escape. Marcus collapsed, his leg useless, blood pooling, but Tasha's pulse, strong in his grip, was victory. The broadcast had worked. Vaughn's confession viral, Carver's testimony sealing the line's fate. Protesters flooded the city, their chants shaking the skyline, clean cops arresting militia stragglers. Marcus's chest heaved, thinking it was over, the South Side's heart unbroken. Then a gunshot cracked, Tasha's body jerking, blood blooming on her chest. She fell, her eyes wide, Keisha's scream tearing the night. Marcus lunged, catching her, his own blood mixing with hers. The shooter, Vaughn, unmasked, rifle raised, grinning from the lot's edge. "You don't win, Tate," he spat, his militia gone but his hate alive. Marcus's heart shattered, Tasha's breath fading, her nurse's hands limp. Keisha sobbed, clawing for her sister, but Marcus moved, his training a reflex, tackling Vaughn, the rifle clattering. They rolled, Marcus's leg screaming, his arm useless, but rage fueled him. Vaughn fought, his fists heavy, but Marcus pinned him, a dropped phone streaming, the world still watching. Vaughn's voice rasped raw, a final rant. The line's just a start. We're nationwide, Tate. Black cities burn next. The confessions streamed, billions gasping, Chicago's protests surging, a revolution sparked. Marcus's fist cracked Vaughn's, jaw silencing him, the phone catching every word. Keisha, tears streaming, grabbed Tasha's phone, uploading the feed, her voice a vow. For you, sis. Sirens wailed, not Rising's allies, but the line's last cops, their badges glinting, cuffs snapping on Marcus's wrists. They dragged him off Vaughn, their eyes cold, loyal to a deeper machine. You're done, terrorist, one hissed, the manifesto's lie still alive. Marcus's body slumped, Tasha's blood on his hands, her pulse gone, Keisha's upload the only spark. The cops shoved him into a squad car, the lot's chaos fading, Chicago's skyline a blur. The broadcast, Tasha's final act, hit every screen. Vaughn's nationwide network exposed, the South Side roaring, protests toppling precincts, City Hall, the line's empire. Marcus's cuffs bit, his leg a ruin, his heart broken, but his lips twitched, a smile faint but real. He'd saved Tasha once, exposed Vaughn, sparked a fire no blackout could douse. The squad car's radio crackled, clean cops reporting Vaughn's arrest, Carver's plea deal, the nation waking. Marcus's eyes bruised but unbowed stared out, the city's pulse alive, revolutionary. Keisha's feed, billions strong, carried Tasha's sacrifice, Lena's evidence, Ray's pain, the South Side's truth. The line was shattered, but the cops' grip, their loyalty to a bigger network, chilled him. As the car rolled, a guard leaned close, his whisper a blade. Their bosses are coming for you, Tate. Marcus's smile held, the cell's shadow looming, but Chicago burned with change, his fight a spark for black cities everywhere. The war wasn't over, but Marcus had lit a flame and it wouldn't die. The squad car's door slammed, the city's roar fading, but his silver star, battles won in blood, glowed, unbroken. Marcus Tate's saga in The Call That Shook the City unveils the raw, unyielding fight against systemic racism, exposing its deep roots in power structures. The story teaches us that courage, like Marcus's, can spark revolutions, even when battered by betrayal and violence. His silver star wasn't just a medal, it was a symbol of resilience, pushing him to expose the line's racist empire despite personal loss. Yet the tale warns that victories are fragile. Marcus's triumph ignited a movement, but Tasha's death and the looming national network reveal racism's relentless reach. It shows that truth, amplified by Keisha's uploads and Lena's sacrifice, can shake cities, but only collective action sustains change. The line's collapse proves systems can crack, but the guards' final whisper, their bosses are coming, reminds us to stay vigilant. Racism thrives in shadows, and Marcus's fight urges us to keep shining light. For every South Side, for every Tasha, we must stand, record, and resist. What's your fight against injustice? Drop a comment with your story, hit like, subscribe, and share to amplify this truth. Thank you for joining Marcus's battle. May you carry his fire for justice into your world.